We think that we arrive to a place of sincere reality or factually what is to be real, you know, whatever that form may be, right, for each and different individuals.
Say that again.
But um,
Like we arrive at a place where reality is real.
in our minds, like, because everybody seems to have a different definition of what reality is or what.
Because that is what's reality.
But
No, no,
don't you think
no, no.
this is like a little bit?
You're talking about a one single objective reality that exists and that we all are a part of. That
Yes,
doesn't exist.
that.
It
But I
doesn't
still think
exist.
it has to, because if all of our like every individual reality is what those individuals make it out to be, then literally, again, that defeats the whole purpose of the grand spectrum. Like, there has to be some sort of like a grounding reality in which, again, for me, this is the physical earth right now. Like, we
When you
cut
say
this
there
camera.
has to be, and you mean it from like a foundational point of view. It's like, no, without some honest, absolute truth, none of this makes sense. Is that what you're saying? Or are you saying more like in a cultural way?
Yeah, I mean, essentially, I'm going to go and anchor it back down to God's perspective, obviously, right? But for me, again, this is difficult,
The
and
fundamentals of reality physics is that your version of the universe is completely different than my version of the
yes,
universe.
I get that.
Not one single
Yeah,
person is the same.
right, I get that. But
That's more true than anything you can believe in. No, no, listen to that.
yeah,
Because the actual foundations of what belief is very different than knowing that truth. When you believe in something, you choose to go, I don't know the answer, but I'm going to put faith into this. You know the answer to this reality I just said. I live in a completely different universe than you do. That,
but we still live in the collective society what's called an Earth,
so
where
you got
we
a bunch of
have.
universes walking around bumping into each other with all different perspectives. That's it.
But who knows if the multiverse is really true or
No,
not?
not even,
Nobody
no, no, no. I'm
knows
not
that.
talking about multiverses. You are your own universe. You're your own experience in totality. Your viewpoint is completely different than my viewpoint on every single level because you're Paul and I'm Ken. Everyone does that. There's not one person that shares the same point of view. You may be in alignment with other people with certain perspectives. I believe this. I do too, but even those two beliefs aren't 100% the same. Everyone is different. That's more true than anything you can believe. That's that's the closest thing you can come to at. Here's another thing. Let me put it to you this way: you're having an experience, right? You can prove that beyond a shadow of a doubt. It's the one thing you know beyond all shadow of a doubt is you're having an experience, right? You know what that experience is. You see me. You assume I'm having my own experience, which is probably an accurate thing to assume.
Right, 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 right.
But you can't prove to yourself that I exist the way you can prove to yourself that you exist. I could just be a part of a simulation like every single thing else around you, and you're the only thing that exists. And you can't prove yourself. You can't prove that to yourself that that's not true. Beyond a shadow of a doubt, you can't prove to yourself you're the only thing that exists on earth. You can't. That in itself is cause for attention. The way that you can prove to yourself that you exist, you can't prove to yourself that anything else exists the same way. Why? That is fascinating. That is cause for attention. You could literally be God that created this whole thing for yourself so you would forget that you're God. And every single thing you interact with is just a video game, and you would never know the difference. You wouldn't. You can't prove yourself. You can't prove that to yourself.
But do you truly, truly believe that?
Doesn't matter what I believe. The logic is there. I don't believe in any of it. I don't believe in anything.
How can we?
It's
There has to
it's
be a setting foundational
no.
something that we can
You're see
truly.
what you're doing right now is you're getting into the mind. You're getting into the head. You're getting into the need to know and understand and have a foundation from which to jump. I'm not doing any of that. I'm
How
just
can any
observing.
debater, like on an intellectual college level or whatever academic level, come with their own point of view and argue and say,
No,
none of that would be real too then.
all of that aside, what I just said is inherent. There's inherent truth in that. There's factual accuracy to that. That's a factual statement. You can't prove to yourself that I exist the way you can prove to yourself that you exist.
Yeah, no, I
That
get
in
that.
itself is cause for attention
Yes.
because that says something about your own reality and my reality if I exist.
But I'm still saying outside of our own realities and our own perception to an individualistic mindset of what this reality is, we're all part of some kind of a platform or staged reality where that is more real than even the reality that we are experiencing. Because this is for
From
me.
Paul's perspective.
No, but gosh, this is good. This is good. But Ken,
I do tend to consider, I strongly consider the idea of the grand orchestration, as I refer to it as.
yes.
The grand
That's
orchestration.
what I'm trying to refer as, and
Well-
this is the reason why I suppose the world's on fire right now with on internet or whatever actual piece of lands and stuff like that. That's why wars exist. That's why religious views and political views, and this is
From the human perspective, it's awful. It's a terrible place to live. Everything's filled with lies. You don't know who to trust. It's deceit, power grabs, murderous rage among powerful elites. There's starving people, there's child sex slavery, there's rape and all sorts of cultures that make money off of those sorts of things. Like
right.
that exists.
Doesn't all this call for
from that perspective? But I think on some higher perspective, we're witnessing the birth pains of a consciousness revolution on a spiritual level that goes beyond this realm.
But you still have to,
Be in this earth.
Yes.
Right.
Rather we want to be part of it, rather you want to deny it, or whatever you want to call it to be, right?
There's no denying it. Yeah.
We're all part of this. Like the timeline of essentially our physical bodies being part of this sun going down, sun coming up, this 7 day out of the week.
I mean, that itself is
365
important
days,
to consider. Like, if you can consider all these ideas and get to all these points of views and receive all this information and figure all these major philosophical things out, and yet you still have to go and take a shit. Like, I'm being as crass as I can on purpose.
Yes.
Like, you still have to do human stuff.
Yeah.
Right?
What's not grounding about
relative experience of that is beautiful. There's beauty in that. And there's purpose in that. And purpose to me also is opportunity. It's not God-given purpose, even though it most likely is. But we live in these, we have to still be human. We still have to pay the bills. We still have to do that. And all of that is beautiful because even amongst the wars and all the terrible things that happen to us, it's a place of learning. We're learning something, we're gaining something, we're receiving something in our lives, and it's necessary. But you got to have both, and you have to have both. Like it's the nature of this realm.
I suppose this battle will continue to rage on, Ken. I know I'm a theistic view, and I still very much am.
Yeah.
But I also am trying to see it in a global perspective. This is like. This is not just me having this, obviously, and there are people who.
There are 8 billion perspectives on this planet. Which one's right? And let's go further. How do you handle other planets? Do you believe in other planets? Do you believe in aliens? Do you consider the idea of consciousness existing on supposedly the multitude of planets that exist, or is that all not real?
In terms of in the realm of physics, I suppose, the realm of infinity is possibility.
Yeah, so
right?
you got humans on a bunch of other planets. Do they have Jesus? Do they have a different Jesus?
No, okay, so that we will never know, in my opinion. This is like one of those realms, I think it's...
But again, you're not meant to know. It's not the answer you're seeking, it's the question. And not to bolster the matrix, but it's true. The question is what opens you up to that reality. When you go, well, what about other planets? I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, but is there...
But there's power in that.
But how do we really, really know if that were to be the case? You know what I mean?
Well,
there's that aspect.
Right, and so is that the case? And if it's not, what's the alternative? The Earth's the only thing that exists. That seems bizarre to me. That doesn't seem as accurate as like,
What if
yeah.
there is a limitation to the universe then? What if
Very well
there
could
is?
be. Also, there's the idea that we may be the first to evolve. The universe may be this old and we're the first to get here. Could be. Think about that. All those planets out there, humans are the first bipedal humanoid type being to get to the point where we are. That's possible. But that also doesn't seem accurate, doesn't feel right. But again, I don't know. I don't know. But it's the questions that you line up that ultimately help to build the paradigm. When people start answering the questions that can't be answered, shake their hand and be thankful for them because you know they're full of shit. That's it. Like no one knows anything. No one knows what this is.